Howdy folks, and welcome to another extremely overdue episode of Home with the Gnome. I can't remember how long it's been since I last did one of these, way too long, certainly more than 6 months. And there's no real good reason why I shouldn't be doing these videos anymore, because the kitchen is about as set up as it's ever going to get. I've got the kitchen island, I've had this for some time now. Everything in the kitchen is basically good. We have great lighting in here and there's loads of space, so yeah, no more excuses. Now, I actually did this dish yesterday. I had it for dinner last night, and I put a picture of it up on Instagram, and people said you should definitely do a video on this. And I absolutely should, because this, I mean, as you can tell by the ingredients, literally, this is it. This is one of the simplest and cheapest dishes it is possible to make. It's literally just pasta. I'm using fusilli. You can use whatever you want, it's not important. Spaghetti, pappardelle, rigatoni works really well. Use whatever pasta you have, and all I'm doing is cooking up stuff that I need to cook, otherwise it's going to go out of date. So I have some Mexican chorizo sausages here, and I have some British Welsh cheddar and smoked bacon pork sausages, a can of tomatoes and some garlic, and that's it. You can add whatever herbs and spices you like. If you want it to be spicy, add some chili. You can, the whole point of this is I don't actually have a recipe for when I cook pasta. I just cook whatever I have, and it's always great. And that's the beauty of pasta. It's incredibly difficult to screw up a pasta dish as long as you follow two important rules. And we'll get to those in a moment. But first, we're going to get started boiling up some water, ready to cook the pasta, and then we'll crack on with everything else. And this is not going to take long. From start to finish, you'll be sitting down at the table and eating this within 20 minutes. So, I've got the water on the boil. You can probably hear it on the gas stove top. And now I'm going to start making the pasta sauce. And it's literally just a can of tomatoes. I'm using chopped tomatoes because that's what I've got. You can use plum peeled tomatoes, you can, whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to blend these. It depends on how coarse and rustic you want your sauce to be. I prefer a smooth sauce. So I am going to put these in the blender. And I'm also, and again, you don't have to do this. The whole point of this thing is you do you. I'm also going to put the garlic in there and blend that up with the tomatoes. You can microplane the garlic. You can slice it nice and thin and then fry it nice and golden in the pan with the sausage. Do whatever you like. This is going to be noisy. And that's the tomato sauce. Right, so I've brought the pasta water. I haven't put the pasta in yet, that's important, I'll explain why, but I've brought the pasta water to the boil, and then I've turned it down to a rolling simmer. I'm not actually going to add the pasta until this is about 10 minutes from ready. Remember I said there's only two ways that you can screw up making pasta, and one of them is having your pasta ready before your sauce is. You always want the sauce to be waiting for the pasta. If the sauce is ready and the pasta isn't, then just take the sauce off the heat, or add some pasta water to cool it down a little. The reason you do that, and we're about to put the sausage in, the reason you do that is because if the pasta has to sit around waiting for everything else, there's only two ways of dealing with it. Let it continue to cook, in which case it just turns to mush, or take it off the heat, put it in a colander, drain it out, in which case it all just sticks together. There's another thing that you want to do with the pasta as well, and that's to finish it off in the sauce. I'll explain why later, but for first, I'm just going to grab a spatula, and we're going to get the sausage, which is Welsh cheddar and bacon pork sausages and Mexican chorizo, into a ripping hot stainless steel pan. This is going to be noisy. The reason you want that pan to be hot is so that the sausage doesn't stick to it. If you were to put the sausage into the pan with the oil and then heat it up, the sausage would just weld itself to the bottom of the pan. There's still going to be some sticking, but that's fine. We can still, as you can see, move it around very easily. It hasn't just instantly welded itself to the pan. And I don't know if you can see, but there are also still going to be bits here where the protein has burnt to the bottom of the pan. That's fine, don't worry, we'll be taking care of that later. But for now, we're just going to start frying up all the sausage. And I'm using sausage just because that's what I have. It needs to be used. You can do anything with this. Just you do you. Chicken thighs, chicken breasts. You don't even have to use meat. Slice some zucchini and some eggplant up and do yourself a vegetable pasta. Whatever you like. The whole point is you do you. Cook whatever you've got that you need to use and that you like. Okay, it's about 4 minutes later. The sausage is basically cooked. Now I'm going to add the pasta. So, like I said, I'm using fusilli. You can use whatever you like, whatever you've got. I have to remember I'm only cooking for one. That's going to take about 10 minutes, which gives you some idea of how long this needs to take. Now, as you can see, there's all kinds of shit on the bottom of the pan. This is what they call fond. This is good stuff. That's all basically flavour. The sausage is cooked. What you're going to need to do now is deglaze the bottom of the pan, which is a fancy chef term for getting all of that stuff off the bottom of the pan and into the meal. Multiple ways you can do this. You just need a liquid. You could use pasta water, which is fantastic for deglazing. You could use beer, you could use Coke, you could just use water straight from the tap. I'm going to use some wine, purely and simply because I opened this bottle yesterday and it needs to get used. About half a cup. Not even that much. And you start scrubbing away. I'm going to take the heat down now. Scrubbing away at the bottom of the pan with the liquid that you added. And this should deglaze the pan and get all of that lovely tasty fond off the bottom of the pan and into the meal where it belongs. You could, if you've blended it up fine enough, just deglaze with the tomato sauce, which will be the next thing that gets added. Remember, 10 minutes. This must be ready before that is. Otherwise, that will overcook and will turn to mush, or if I just take it off the heat, drain it out, put it in the colander, it'll just stick together and it'll be horrible. And you don't want that. That would be bad. We've deglazed the bottom of the pan now, and I'm going to add the tomato sauce, which I blended up with the garlic earlier. And there it goes. Now it's just a case of cooking this in. If at any point this is too thick, just add some pasta water. The pasta water is good stuff. It contains salt from the salt that I added to the water to bring it to a boil easier. And it's also going to contain starch from the pasta. Pasta water is fantastic stuff for cooking with. Never get rid of your pasta water until the meal is on the plate and ready to eat, because you can always use it. You can use it to thin out the sauce if it's too thick, although that's probably not going to be a problem because, well, I've blended this pretty well, or you can smell the garlic in there. This is basically it. This is your meal. It's the pasta, it's the sausage, and it's the sauce. That doesn't mean you have to stop here though. But anything that you add from this point is purely an optional extra. I'm going to add, well, let's have a look and see what I've got. I've got some oregano here, which I believe the rebellious former colonies call oregano. I'm going to toss that in, because why the hell not? This will give it a slightly more earthy flavour. And also, because I like a bit of a kick with my pasta, I do like a spicy pasta, you could add hot sauce. or you could just go ahead and add some chili peppers. And I have some cayenne chili pepper here, which I'm going to go ahead and add, just to add a little bit of a kick to that tomato and garlic flavour. You can add lemon juice. You know, if you don't like spicy foods, you can give it a bit of a kick by just adding some citrus, lemon juice, lime juice, anything like that will work fine. And then we're going to let that simmer. The sausage is basically cooked, and it's just a question of how much you want to reduce the sauce down. That's probably still a little too runny, so I'm not going to be adding any pasta water, but if I turn the heat up a little, I've got another 6 minutes or so before the pasta's ready. Plenty of time for this to cook and reduce down. Here's another little tip. If your sauce isn't thickening up fast enough to your satisfaction and you think the pasta's going to be ready soon, throw some cheese in. When I did this yesterday, I used the last of my mozzarella. Today I'm using Parmesan. And that will help thicken up the sauce. And also, it's adding that Parmesan Reggiano flavour. Use whatever cheese you've got. Just grate it fine. Use a microplane. Pecorino Romano works very well, although it is kind of salty. But again, you do you. That's the whole point of this recipe. It isn't really a recipe, it's just using whatever you have in order to cook a fast, simple and really tasty meal. Now, I'm going to have a quick check on the pasta. And don't forget to taste the sauce as well. It may need salt, it probably won't. It may need pepper. Yeah, some pepper wouldn't go amiss, but it's definitely good enough as far as the salt's concerned. I'll crack some pepper in there as well. And again, you're just adding this to taste. You add as much as you like. That's the deal. Just going to check on the pasta. So you want the pasta to be almost but not quite done. You know, you want it al dente, or almost al dente. Ooh, that's hot. Let's give it a quick taste. It feels alright. Yeah, the pasta's almost ready, which is perfect. Now remember I said there were only two ways you could really screw up a pasta dish. The first was having the pasta be ready before the sauce was ready. The second, you always want to try to finish the pasta off in the sauce. You see people posting pictures on Instagram of a pasta dish that looks fantastic, but they've just taken the pasta, put it on a plate, and then dumped whatever sauce and meat they have on top of it. And it looks great in the picture, but the sauce doesn't stick to the pasta, it just slides right off. So I'm just going to take the heat off here. Always try to cook the pasta off for the last 2 minutes in the sauce, because then the pasta absorbs the sauce and it will also help reduce the sauce down. And then the pasta itself also contains the flavour of the sauce. As long as you follow those two simple rules, always make sure that the sauce is ready before the pasta and then finish the pasta off in the sauce, you really cannot go wrong with a pasta dish. And this is about 2 minutes away from completion now. And again, never get rid of your pasta water until you've plated the meal up and it's on the table ready to eat. Because if this is now too thick, you can just thin it out with the addition of some pasta water, which contains all of that lovely starch from the pasta. I mean, how good does that look? We're just going to let that simmer away for another 2 minutes. That will finish cooking the pasta. The pasta will absorb, because that's what pasta does, it absorbs liquids. That's why you take it out of the boiling pasta water 2 minutes before it's done. So it will continue to absorb the sauce and get all of that lovely pasta sauce flavour in the pasta itself. So another 2 minutes, that will be done, and we'll be ready to give it a taste. And that's it, we're done. This shouldn't, well, it took me longer than 20 minutes because I had to set up cameras and things, but that shouldn't take you longer than 20 minutes from start to finish. And there are multiple points during which you're cooking this when you're just sitting waiting for things to cook, when you can already start cleaning up. So I'm sitting down to eat now and everything's clean. I don't have to clean anything after this other than the fork and the plate that I'm eating it off. And oh yeah, that's good. Let's try a bit of the sausage. Oh yeah. I mean, it's not an expensive dish. Pasta is cheap as chips. The sausage that I used, 2 sets of 6 sausage for £4 on special offer at the supermarket. I used wine to deglaze the frying pan, but I could have just used pasta water. Because I blended up the sauce with the tomatoes and the garlic, as fine as I did, I could have just deglazed with the sauce. This is an extremely inexpensive and very, very tasty dish that is so simple to make. And I have to give credit where credit's due here, because I've been doing a lot of the technically Italian, but more actually Italian-American style dishes. Thanks to a YouTube channel that I've been watching called Sip and Feast, which is a guy called Jimmy who basically cooks in his kitchen for his family out in Long Island, New York. He's Italian-American, and he does so many fantastic Italian-American recipes, and there's been a major inspiration for me getting back into cooking pasta again. So I'll put a link in the video description to his YouTube channel. It's called Sip and Feast, and it's really, really good. If you like cheap, cheerful, and hellishly tasty Italian-American pasta dishes, which are incredibly easy to make, just like this. It tastes so good. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're inspired to maybe try something like this for yourself, because it is so simple to make. It's literally just a case of cooking whatever leftovers you have. Anything that's going to go out of date needs to be cooked, but making it as tasty and simple as possible. Take care, folks, and I'll catch you next time.